What happened? What happened in this episode of Omega? Omega episode 6 was not good. I don't understand what was going on. I don't understand what they were doing. I don't understand the decisions that were made. There was weird, like, kaiju romance stuff or like mating stuff going on. Defining the kaiju is very biological, and we just had a kaiju be very much like a god, even referencing a god in mythology. Well, I don't know if it's a real myth or if it was just one made up for the show or what, but kaiju are divine. No, kaiju are just animals. And also, kaiju are animals in the weirdest way, and they're animals that are supposed to be taken seriously for what they do and how they inspire us and the amazing things that they're able to do in spite of difficulties they face, but also their silly, goofy jokes that we should just laugh at. Omega episode 6 is the worst episode of the series so far. I think I just said Omega 5 was the best episode of the series so far. I don't know how these got back to back, but here they are. It was bad, and I didn't like it. I've got a new format for the show. If you see here, I've got these 9 points that I'm going to go through, and let me keep going through those real quick. I hope this will make the review more fun and more enjoyable for you and for me, and just better structured. So here we go. Trying to go no more than 10 minutes. So here we go. So this image from the beginning of the episode depicts fans receiving the slop, the drool, the warm drool from the cooling corpse of the episode. This episode 6 of Omega, and it's just bad. It's. I don't understand why this episode was so bad, especially when the last one was so good. And I failed to look up who the creators were on it, and I don't really, you know what, I'm going to try to do it right now. Hold on. I did it. It's not going to be on screen here, but it's on my screen over here so I can read it. According to the episode screenwriter, Akio Miyoshi, who I will look into his credits later, back when he wrote for Ultraman Orb, he made a promise with Tomonobu Koshi to work together. He's the director of this episode. So this episode fulfills that 9-year-old promise. So let me pull up their information real quick. So Tomonobu Koshi is a director who worked on Max, Mebius, Saga, Fight, Ginga S the movie, X the movie, Orb, Jeed, Rube, Taiga, Z, 2 episodes, The Lion's Cry and Belly Rock, which Belly Rock was a really cool episode. The Lion's Cry was pretty good too. Ultraman Trigger, Ultraman Z, he was the assistant director for the whole thing. Ultraman Decker, he did 3 episodes there. Blazar, he did Planet of Music, which is a fantastic episode with beautiful direction. Interesting. Parent and Child, which was it was actually an episode I thought of during watching this, and it's better. It's a much better take on being sympathetic towards kaiju and on trying to have nuance with kaiju and human interactions, which is interesting. The Towering Terror, which was okay. I didn't love it, or maybe I did. I don't remember. It was towards the end of Blazar. And then Light and Flame, which was just okay, mostly because I don't like the Phoenix bird armor thing that was introduced in Blazar. For Arc, though, he did 7, The Full Moon's Answer, Internet Canagon, The Light of Fear, Demon Slicing Meteor Sword, The Man in the White Mask, and Calamity Thrice. I feel like he also worked on the last episode. Yes, it's the same director from the last 3 episodes. So, Miko and Mikoto was a fantastic episode. And the director's the same on both, but this episode, The Kaiju Search, wasn't very good. How interesting. Let's move on to the writer, Akio Miyoshi. Akio Miyoshi has worked on Ultraman Ginga S, 2 episodes, Ultraman X, 1 episode, Ultraman Orb, 1 episode, and Ultraman Omega. He wrote episode 6 and episode 10, which is already out now, but I'm catching up, so I haven't seen that yet. Very interesting. He's had a little bit of a spread over Ultraman. He hasn't written that many episodes, and I wonder if that's why this was a weaker episode of Ultraman. I also don't know much about Orb X and Ginga S, how they treated kaiju, because kaiju are very much animals in this, or even like unto humans, and yet last episode had them very much deified or in a status like demigods, and I find that contrast interesting, especially back to back. So yeah, that's very interesting. I really tried to look hard for the positive in this episode, and I just don't like it. If I had to rank it, I would give it like a 3 out of 10. Yeah, maybe less, maybe like a 2 out of 10, just because it wasn't that good. It wasn't offensive, but it just was so lacking in so many ways. It's really sad. It has this weird handling of kaiju. I said romance is a joke here, bad kaiju romance. It has this weird balance of kaiju as animals, but like, and like, I'll get to it a little bit later, but Yeah, so they're animals and they're mating basically, or they're like they think it's mating season. The female wakes up because she thinks it's mating season, and then the male wakes up because he thinks it's mating season. And I guess they were both hibernating, and they were hibernating in the same nest under a mountain. And she breaks out first because she hears tunneling or digging or whatever, and she thinks it's his mating dance. So she goes out to find him. Then once she's out, he smells her. He kind of wakes up. His sleep is disturbed, and he goes out to find her from their nest, and she's dead. I'm pretty sure she's dead. Died from the sunlight, or at least is dazzled and knocked unconscious, which is still strange. And then, and that's like the point. He's not attacking. He's not being aggressive. He's going towards her, which she's sort of towards a settlement, sort of towards a city. So they think they need to kill her, but then they decide they don't need to, and instead they pick them up and put them together into their nest and bury them there. Omega and Rekinus, that is. And I guess everything's good now. I don't know. It's kind of strange. Um, the word of the week, the word of the episode is challenge, and IU has a challenge. She's meant to be a scientist researching endangered animals. That's what she's supposed to be working on. But because of the kaiju thing, she's now working with kaiju, working on the whole topic of kaiju, being a researcher to try to figure things out. And she's rising to a challenge, and that's great. And I think that's a very good. There's some very good character moments for her, especially contrasted with Yuta, who's a coworker of hers, who's been kind of conscripted into this kaiju research wing. They're taking scientists and said that we need to respond to this crazy stuff that's going on. Let's work on it. Let's figure out what to do with these giant animals or whatever kaiju are. Let's work with it. Let's figure out what to do. And she's doing that, and she's doing that happily because she feels like she should use her skills for something useful, and the world is facing this kaiju crisis, so to speak. So she's rising to the occasion, and that's great. But her perception based on that is that they are like large animals, and she's kind of treating them that way. And they are acting very much like animals in this episode, despite the contrast to episode 5, where they were definitely not just regular animals. So that's interesting, and she's trying to study them, and she realizes that their behavior mimics the behavior of regular animals, which it's the kaiju. Anyway, it's the kaiju suit reused to show an animal doing this mating dance thing, and whatever. It was kind of goofy, and I didn't like it that much, but here we are. Zooming through this, where did 5 go? Oh no, I lost 5. Where's 5? Found 5. Here we go. So the kaiju are just kind of being played for lulz. They're very silly. They do kind of act like animals, but they also act, I don't know, kind of like babies. Whatever. It's weird. And like I said, we've had this contrast of beasts or animals versus gods, and last episode really pushed that like divine aspect or identity part of kaiju, and then here they're just like dumb animals, like really goofy, silly, dumb animals, which is unfortunate. And we're veering into fantasy here, or yeah, like almost no, I guess we're veering into sci-fi here versus fantasy, but it's like ungrounded, like silly, goofy sci-fi, and I don't really understand why that choice was made, and I don't like the choice. Anyway, I know I brought this up before, but she's saying that she, getting back to IU, they have this running thread of she is doing what she can with her skills, and that's great. And I think it's a good thing. And it's laudable, and it's this challenge that gets set up in the episode as part of the structure of thinking about it or perceiving it as an audience. And she's rising to the challenge, which is great. But again, I guess then it is related to the kaiju, because the kaiju is being blinded by the sun, and because they knocked off his little cap, that his visor that shields his eyes from the sun. And she's saying like he won't stop doing his duty, what he has to do, which is mate, no matter how much it hurts with the blinding sun and whatever, because it's this drive that he has. And I guess the parallel is supposed to be she has this drive, research endangered animals, which this is again like an endangered animal, which there's literally there's a longmouth mole that's this suit, just like grayed up. It has the pink color taken out of it, and it's made to look small instead of made to look large, and it's put in a little thing and showing it doing its mating dance, and she's trying to preserve its life, like that thing she wants preserved because it's an endangered species, and she's, I guess, assuming that this kaiju is also endangered, or she's saying like, oh, it has a cousin who's endangered, so let's not just destroy it, let's save it, as opposed to the other kaiju that we've killed happily. So it's like nuance. So it's weird that like there's kind of a thread of we need to understand these things, and have a scientific approach to them, and science should be about understanding, not about domination. It should be about like finding out information. You don't find out information by killing people or destroying things. Anyway, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't really have a full grasp of this idea going forward. I just think it was because it was sloppily executed. But thinking about this, like, this is slightly better that it keeps going no matter what. Just like she keeps going and doing her duty, even though it's hard for her. You know, she doesn't necessarily like the field work, and Yuta definitely doesn't like the field work. He's even afraid to camp, which is played for laughs, but it's not that funny. It's not a very well executed joke. And then moving on. So as far as, you know, I want to speculate here. Omega Serato is reaching out to the heavens while everybody else is sleeping, and I'm wondering, what's he trying to grasp? Because when he does that, he's trying to find out something about the kaiju, and apparently it works somehow. Ultraman magic, whatever. So he's trying to find out something about the kaiju and find a way to deal with them. What's he reaching out to right now? Is he reaching out to the stars? Is he reaching out to the heavens? He knows he fell from the sky. Is he reaching out to the sky because he wants to try to understand it? Is he actually grasping information that we don't know about? And will that become revealed in the future? I don't know. I hope so. I would like them to continue rounding out his story. I want to learn why he became an amnesiac, why he lost his memories, and like where he came from and what he was doing as an Ultra. Because we just don't know, and it is part of the mystery. And he's the parts of himself that he remembers and the details about kaiju that he remembers seem neutral enough. Like they just make him seem like a good guy, and they make him seem like a decent person, decent alien, whatever. And they make him seem informed. And I want to know why he's informed and why. I want to know about him and his background. You know, we never got that with Blazar. We'll see if we get it with Omega, because we don't have to necessarily. And then for number 8, do you think Omega's doing a good job of exploring kaiju as animals, or exploring kaiju in general, exploring kaiju as animals, exploring kaiju as gods? I don't really think so myself. I made reference in a previous episode to Ultra Creel, I think is the way you say the name, and I am curious to see what he says about this. I think I'm going to ask him on Twitter what he thinks about this. He has it as Ultra Curiel. There we go. And I wonder what he thinks about this, because to me, it doesn't seem to be doing a good job. It made the kaiju, like, it didn't take them seriously, so it didn't treat them as anything more than an animal. It didn't treat them as divine. It didn't give them, like, respect. Like, they were very goofy, and I'm not saying that kaiju can't be goofy, and that maybe sometimes they shouldn't be goofy, but just, like, it really killed it for me, and it all fell flat for me this episode. But like, what do you think? That's what I think. What do you think? Is Omega doing a good job exploring kaiju as animals, as gods, as part of nature, as this mysterious force, or not? There have been some different things that have been done with the kaiju that we've seen so far, and I wonder what your takeaway is from that, because, well, you hear mine. I'm very frustrated by it all. And then just specifically, did this episode land for you? Why or why not? And if you differ from me, that's interesting. And I'd love to have a conversation about that. One other thing I wanted to talk about is I find it really, like, kind of gross and creepy that, to me, it looks like the female kaiju is dead and then they buried them together. Like, this is kind of an extreme take, but whatever. Like, he's obviously not going to mate with her if she's dead, but like, is she going to decompose next to him and he's going to wake up horrified that his mate is now, you know, a skeleton or a decomposing corpse next to him? Like, I don't think they thought things fully through when they made this episode. And I don't know why that happened, and I find it frustrating and sad that it happened, especially because Omega's been really good so far. I think very solid so far, and I don't know how this happened. So anyway, that's it for me. Check out all the other work I'm doing. I'm now covering Commander Zets, and I also will continue to cover Ultraman Omega and talk about it, and hopefully I'll catch up soon, and hopefully it gets better in the next episode. And I hope this is the worst episode, because so far this really is the worst episode of the series so far, and it's unfortunate to have to say that 6 episodes in, but like I said, hopefully it's the worst and everything's much better than this from here on out. Till next time, folks, this is MJ signing out. Check out the trailer for my book over here just in a few seconds. It's about magical bugs battling monsters, and if you like Ultraman, I think you'll like it. Magical bugs battle monsters in this exciting fantasy adventure. Gremlings prey upon children. Growbugs protect them. When a gremling finds a hidden growbug fort, the whole flock makes a surprise attack. How will the growbugs survive? Find out in Mockwing Mayhem. Learn more at growbugs.com, where you can find out more about our mailing list, receive behind-the-scenes information, and get all the latest news on the growbugs.